Dear DSA students, we are so excited to be on this journey with you, and we want to say a big well done for your commitment and enthusiasm so far. Whether you have just joined or you have been learning with us over the past few weeks, we see your progress and we are rooting for you all the way. Now, we know there's been a bit of silence around the learning management system, and we sincerely apologize for that. But here's the good news. We have an update as regards the learning management system, and it is one you'll love. Some of you may have been onboarded on the previous LMS, but want to ask that you kindly disregard any previous link, platform, or communication concerning that old system. We are officially switching to a new platform that you may be familiar with, Canvas by Instructure. For those new to Canvas, don't worry. A video tutorial will be uploaded to guide you step by step on how to use the platform effectively on our YouTube channel. You will also receive an onboarding email directly from Canvas by Instructure to help you get started. Please follow the instructions in the email and input your details to begin your learning journey on the platform. We are committed to making sure your learning experience is smooth, interactive, and impactful. So please, pay close attention to the announcements coming right after this video for more details. We are so glad to have you with us. Keep going, we've got this.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful class. For today's class, I will be doing version control system. I am your host, same host. I am Emil Chukwude, CTO Remedial Health. So, before I go further, just like to ask some few questions. Concerning the past classes, if there have been any issue regarding it, like hope you guys are following, that is one. And I also want to restate that for those that are not following, please find time to always go back to the videos. It's not a must that everyone is carried along, but if you really want to learn, please find time to go back to the videos, okay? Then I already sent a message across. Also, for those that have access to the LMS platform, I'm assuming everyone should have access to it by now. For this class, you'll be requiring GitHub and GitLab. You're also expected to install Git in your system. So I'm assuming almost everyone should have done that by now. I'll quickly look at the chat for those. So if you have installed Git on your system, the link shared directs you to a page where you can specify the one unique to your system, be it a Linux system, a Windows system, or a Mac system. You should be able to download the one suited for your own system. So do we all have Git now? That is one. The next question. Okay, probably I'll wait for an answer for that. How many people have successfully set up Git on their system? If you have, can I just get a yes? Installed. Okay, cool. That is one installed from Chuku. Okay, cool. I'm guessing we're on the same page. Like everyone is ready for today's class. Okay, cool. So the next question is like I'm asking questions earlier already. Have we all created accounts under Git Lab and GitHub? Have we all done that? That is the next question. Yeah, no problem. So for those that have not been able to install it, no problem. Just find time to do it. You can always make reference to the video. I'll try as much as possible to carry everyone along. Okay. So the question again I asked: have everyone created an account? Those that I have. If you have created an account on both GitLab and GitHub, can I get a yes for that? Okay, yeah, if you have GitHub is fine by me. GitHub or GitLab, anyone works. It's still the same procedure. Okay, good evening to share. Okay, cool. Okay, okay. Not yet. Okay, no problem. For those that haven't, so it's not difficult. Just follow the class. I won't be able to create a live account in the course of this class because I'll need an actual email address, and I don't want to continuously create fake email address just to create an account for this. But it's not difficult. It's like your regular account you open every day, maybe on social media and all. By the time you go there, the prerequisite is a valid email address, be it GitHub or GitLab. A valid email address, if you specify password, your email address will be verified, stuff like that. Very easy and straightforward. Okay, so dive right into the class. I'm not sure. Okay, let's just get into the class. Let's just work with the spread. So can we proceed with the class now? I'll just maybe 1 or 2 years and we can proceed. If you have a question already, I'll be surprised because I'm not sure I've said anything that requires asking a question yet. So can we proceed, everyone? Can we proceed, guys? Okay. I'm seeing a yes from Ayobida. I'm assuming that yes means we should proceed. Okay. So let's proceed. Cool. So, for today's class, I'm going to try as much as possible to keep it a bit interactive. For me, I'm not. Everybody has their own way. I'm not into knowing a lot of terminologies. I like to strike a balance between both. It's good to know terminologies and the theoretical aspects as well. You should know the practical aspect as well. Okay, so let's proceed. So welcome to class. Is it 13 or 14 now? For me, it's 13. So welcome to class 13. So for today's class, I don't know if you guys have access to the slide already on LMS. It has been uploaded. Okay, for those that have access to LMS, you should be able to download the slide already. Okay. So for today's class, we'll be covering introduction to version control. We'll be looking at types of version control. We look under getting started with Git, core Git concepts, essential Git commands, best practices, and pitfall. Okay, so for those that don't have access to the LMS, I believe it will also be shared as well, maybe on your WhatsApp group and all, but it's already on the LMS platform. So try and access it. I still see some few people just accepting invitation. So please find that email link and accept the invitation. All the courses outline, all the materials we'll be using so far and slides, they're already there. We want to try as much as possible to make sure we put the slides there before the class or maybe immediately after. Okay, so let's proceed. So for the learning objective, so by the end of this session, participants, like I said, all of us, sorry for that. So participants, look at that. We'll be able to know what VSC is and why it's important in software development. Identify the difference between local, centralized, and distributed systems. So these three systems I just mentioned are the various types of VSC. VSC stands for what? Version control system. Okay. So perform key operations like add, commit, push, pull. We'll get to do all of this. These are part of how you make. These are commands you use for Git. Okay. Some of the commands you use for Git. You understand how to work with remote repositories and open pull requests. You know the typical steps developer follow using Git in real life scenario. So before I proceed, I'll just look at the chat quickly to see if there's anything I can answer pertaining what I've said so far. So for those that I see someone saying is here to get an invite. So please, maybe you want to reach out to the admin. We'll take note of your name so that you can get the invite to the LMS platform. Okay. Is there any question so far? So concerning the big O, the codes are not running. That is weird. Probably this is a question from Femi. So probably you want to specify which of the codes. So how did you run it? Because all those codes I'm tested to say they are tested and trusted. So probably it's a case of syntax issue or maybe type issue or maybe setup on your system. So we can probably discuss that after the class, or you can confirm from any of your colleagues if they are having same issues. Okay. So and I think that is that for now. We'll proceed with the class now. proceed. So I'm going to the next slide. Introduction to version control. So as usual, the basic way of me understanding definitions is, as I've said it several times, I like to split word. So over here we have version and we have control. I'm tempted to ask, what do you guys think version is? So when you hear version of stuff, what does it imply? So under layman terms, version simply means probably I can see it as updates. Probably if you are the type that always follows with new updates on WhatsApp and all, you will see there has been a latest version release of updates. Maybe you use an iPhone, new releases. So it doesn't only apply to software, it also applies to devices as well. You can hear, do you have the latest version of the Android, so and so stuff. So version are there to show increments from one step to another. That is the way I see it. So it doesn't apply to just softwares and programs alone. It also applies to what devices as well. Okay, so let's proceed. So now the next word we have over there is control. So control is like taking charge. I stand to be corrected. So now we are having version control. So with the definition I have over here, we are looking at version control is a system that tracks changes made to file over time, allowing users to access previous versions and revert to them if needed. So there's a reason why I like this, and if you guys realize the class so far, we are not just focused on saying this is more important than this. We didn't just start the class enforcing everyone to start coding or start learning one or two languages and all. No, we want you guys to get the full core concept of software development as a whole. Okay, so that is why we're each of the topics you have been handling so far are all channeled towards making you a full software engineer. Okay, so I'll give you an instance why I like VS. We can call it VCS. Okay, version control system. Okay, so if you are the type that probably maybe in the time past, well, I'm looking for a perfect scenario. Let me say something physically got spoiled in your house, and let me say you are trying to fix let's say an headset, your headset or something like that. Uh, you will want to carefully take note of which codes belong to which parts. The steps you take in probably opening this device so that by the time you're trying to couple back, you don't make mistakes. You don't start asking yourself, where did I get this particular screw from? Stuff like that. But with version control, I can say you can be as free as possible. Why? There's an history. There's something keeping track of all the changes you have made so far. Okay? So, well, I have an analogy here on this file. Tracking change in Google Docs. I don't know if many of us have used Google Doc. Has anyone used Google Doc here before? I'll just maybe I get a little, maybe 1 or 2 years. Have you used Google Doc before? It's a question I'm asking. Let me see. We sure have to watch this class. Yeah, please, we watch it, okay? But don't worry, it's going to be fun, hopefully. And see a lot of here. So, before I continue with the Google Doc, the thing is, I used to tell people that programming, sometimes I don't really know why we are doing it, funny enough, because sometimes it tends to be very boring. It's not easy for you to explain to somebody why is doing probably console log hello world when you can simply just write hello world on the screen. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of practice. Even this version control is something you're going to use till like it doesn't end. You learn stuff about it every day, like depending on how well you go with it. So it's something you're going to carry along all through your programming journey till probably you decide not to code again, something like that. So the reason I'm making reference to Google Doc, unlike before now, let's say you have multiple people that are supposed to work on a particular project, a text project, maybe using Microsoft Word, not the online version. After you are done with your parts, you literally need to bundle it, maybe in a flash, or maybe send through WhatsApp, send it to the next person that needs to work on it. Probably wait for that person to do his or her updates, then send back to you. But with Google Doc, you literally see multiple people making changes the same time, live one, and you can also go to the history parts and see various changes at different time. So probably somebody erroneous did an error on the file. You can easily revert back to the old state of that file. The same thing we can achieve using VCS, version control, on our code-based system. So I'll give you an instance. There was a particular software, not software, particular features I was trying to write on the code on the program. But I'm like, you don't want to write software and end up a code, maybe a feature, and end up breaking what is working already. But with VSC, you can keep track of what you are adding new. So probably by the time you realize that maybe what you are adding is not making sense, you can easily revert back to the old state. Okay, so it's not something you can do without, as far as you want to code, as far as you want to be a programmer, as far as you want to be a software engineer, strict developer. Okay, so let's proceed. So by the side of my definition, I have a VCS. See, don't I'll be missing it up. VCS, VSC is VCS actually version control system. Okay, so by the side of my my definition, you can see an image. You can see an image. Okay, that image might not make sense to you now, but I'm looking at it, I'm smiling because it makes a lot of sense. So when you have this file, what I expect of it is to probably zoom that image. But let me explain what I see and why it makes sense to me. You can see the blue dots. At least everyone can see the blue dots. It's a very straight line. Okay, so that blue dot signifies the main thread of the project. But from that blue dot, you can see various branches. You see, I'm already using the word branch, which you will get familiar to in time to come. They are branching out. So we branch to the green part. If you zoom closer, you see that that green part we are seeing feature A. So in this case, I can decide to build a new feature, create another branch for it, test everything there, make sure it's working properly before I join it to the main project. So stuff like that you can achieve with VCS. Let me be calling it slowly so I don't make any mistake. So I think it's safe. I've said a lot of stuff. I don't know if I've ended up confusing anyone so far. But if I've confused you by now, I've not gone far, I'll be shocked. But are we on the same page? Can I get probably 1 or 2 years so we can proceed? Can we proceed? Or probably the question should be, is this the first time you're hearing of VCS? Or probably you must have heard of the word Git before, which is where we're driving at. Is it the first time you're hearing of such words like Git and VCS and all? Is it the first time? So the yes, I'm assuming the yes is for we can proceed. I'll choose my answers. Yes. For the Git and VC, is it the first time you're hearing of it? I'm still saying yes. Probably, I'm assuming it's the first time for some people. But don't worry. Okay, don't worry. You'll be fine. It's not scary, okay? It's not scary. So the thing is, it gives you flexibility to play with your code base. So with that, we can easily do stuff and know that you can revert back easily. So but let's see how we go. I'm going to go to the next slide, okay? And let me also use this opportunity to stress that most of the stuff we are teaching you so far is left on you to make sure you learn to develop yourself more. You need to do more research. You need to practice more. Emphasis on the practice. That is the only way this stuff will start making sense to you. Okay. So why use version control? So these are the benefits of using version controls. It enables collaboration. Like you see the case of a Google Doc. So many people can collaborate on the same document, making their individual changes without disturbing anyone. Okay, that is VC for you, version control for you. It also maintains history. So you can easily revert back to an old change. Probably there's an error, probably there's a bug. You push something live and you notice there's a bug. Instead of you to spend time fixing that bug on the fly, you can easily revert back to the old state of the project when you have VC set up on your system. Okay? Then, yeah, which is revert back to the version. Prevent data loss. You see this one? I'm already laughing because this thing has done a lot of drama for me in the past. So for those of us that are not used to backing up stuff, like probably you are typing and you're not used to pressing Control S, you need to work on that. That is one. By the time we are done with this class, I'll give some proper advice. I believe it's at my slide as well. Stuff you should do at intervals. Probably you are done with doing a certain feature or a certain function. You're encouraged to save and commit. I'll explain what that means later. Okay. Then it encourages experimentation, like what I said before. I'm not sure maybe something will work properly, but based on I'm certain that I can do something and revert back to the old way easily, I'm free to experiment. So this is part of the reason why you should use version control. I'm so tempted to call it Git, which is what we are all going to use, but for now, let me keep to what I have here, version control. So I'm going to proceed to the next slide. So types of version control system. Hope we are not lost yet. Please tell me you are not lost. Git, not first time, okay? I got that. I'm looking at the chat to see if there's anything pertaining to this. Are we all following for now? Are we all following for now? Hope some are not questioning their life decisions already. Like, are you sure software development is for me? It's for you. As far as you are here, it's for you. Okay. So, so we can proceed. So types of so that should be types of version control system. So just ignore the topic. We'll make the updates to that. So let me go back. Yeah, types of version control system. So we have local VCS. So changes tracked on one system. So I won't spend much time with this. I just stating this out there so you know what it's all about. So the first one, which is local, is just for a system. You are tracking all the changes on your system. That is one. The next one is centralized. You can probably look at this like the Google Doc I just mentioned to you. For an instance, everyone is working on one file at the same time. It's centralized. Okay, so we call that one centralized VCS, centralized version control system. But please don't let all this, you will not be lost. Just calm down. Don't let all this terminology scare you. It's not the main thing. It's just that so you know. But even if you don't get used to it, you will still get the hang of it in time to come. Then the last one, which is our focus, is the distributed VCS, which is what? Full repo copy. So there are a lot of things to be hearing because of this class. You'll be hearing stuff like repo. I don't know if you guys have been hearing the word repo ever since. Probably you'll be asking yourself, I came to learn software engineering. Which one is repo again? So repo stands for repository. You can probably call it a directory. I hope you guys still remember what directory is, like your folders and all. So you can call that repo as well. Okay. So for the centralized, I'll just focus a bit on both. For the centralized, you are all working on one server, on one probably one document, so I don't confuse you. But for the distributed, everyone has a copy of it. So for instance, let me say I have a project, okay? Let me say the name of the project is probably the student example I'll be using all this while. A project for a school. There's another developer I want to work for me. And probably I want the developer to build just one feature. Just one feature, which is probably login authentication. So that developer will need to probably create a branch and branch out. But that branch you are creating is a full replica of what I have already. So that's why we have it full repo, maybe a full folder. So it's carrying the full structure of the code base I have already, moving it to another place and calling it a branch. So that is how it's done. Okay. So example of that is Git, which is what we'll be using for this class. I'm tempted to say, is there any question? Have I confused you guys already? But I'm having the feeling that you guys will say yes, but since this is not where I want us to specialize on, I'm going to skip that. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so the next slide, starting with Git. So please, if you have not been listening before, this is the part I actually need you to listen. Okay, please. So Git is a distributed version control system. Like I said, don't get confused with the term. If not for this class, I'm not sure the last time I mentioned the word version control system. All I mentioned is Git, but don't worry, okay? It created by see, I can't even call his second name, in 2005 to manage Linux kernel development. So I don't know if any one of us is exposed to the Linux OS. So it came from them. So that is why if you install Git properly, you have the option of doing Git bash. I've mentioned something like that in the time past, that we have terminals for Windows, like your CMD for Windows, and we have Git bash. If you want to have a similar representative of what you have on Linux and Mac, you can install Git bash, which is part of what you install when you are installing Git. You have the option of selecting if you want it or not. So if you have such installed, which is what we are going to be using today, you any command line you write on it, you same thing with what we run on both Mac and both your Linux. So that way everyone is on the same page. Okay? So we are trying to carry our Windows developers along. But for this, we'll be using a Windows system, okay? So let's proceed. What it allows developer to track changes, collaborate, and manage source code history. So this is the basic thing Git does for you. You can track changes, you can know the last thing you added, okay? You can manage history, and you can collaborate, because in most cases, the projects you'll be working on, it might be a case of maybe a developer is already in that system already. Someone is lost already, and I just started. Just focus here. This is the main part you are focused on. So we are still on Git, okay? Let's not forget. What is the major job of Git? To help you track changes. So the summary of everything we are doing today is for you to set up something that can track changes to your code base, that can help you keep history of your code base, okay? So that you don't kill yourself doing a lot of undo and redos and all, okay? So let's proceed. I'll be going to the next slide, comparing Git and others, okay? So Git is distributed. I won't waste time here. SVN, which is a type of centralized, decentralized. Everybody is working on same server. Mercurial is also another one. It's also distributed as well. Offline work. So you can use Git without internet. Many will be storing your changes locally. Okay. Can someone help me in this? Okay. Okay. So you'll be storing your changes locally. Okay. For SVN, you need internet. For Mercury, you'll be storing it locally and also anytime. So for instance, like your Google Doc, if you are not online, you cannot make edits, like for it to reflect immediately. Okay. So I see some people already getting confused with repository. Repository is same thing as there, which is your folders. If you don't want to confuse yourself, just take it as folders, okay? But in time to come, you get used to calling it repository. Okay. So it's in terms of branching and merging, probably branching to maybe create a new feature. For Git is easy and fast. For SVN is complex, Mercury good. Git is quite popular. If you have probably tried coding in the past or something, one way or the other, you must have heard of Git. One way or the other. SVN is a niche. Mercury is less common. In fact, I'm not sure I've even heard of it that way, but let's leave that. Two integration, excellent, limited, moderate. So this is in your slide. You can always make reference to it. And let's not forget what I always continuously say. The class does not stop here. It continues with you doing research on your own. We are going to focus on giving you what you basically need, ensuring that you have a good foundation to learn on your own. Okay? So let's proceed. So we'll be doing some little practicals very soon. I just want to make sure I've not lost anyone yet. I've not lost anyone yet. So a few minutes. Yeah, cool. So we're doing some practical. So okay, so let's proceed. So key concepts in Git repositories. You'll be hearing the word repository a lot. Take note of that. It's just project directory or folder. Take note of that. You'll be hearing of commits a lot. So commit is like your save point. Probably if you are the type that like to play games, I don't want to call games for now. If you're the type that like to play adventure games, there are probably some points you get to that you need to save. You call them your save point or maybe your checkout point and all. So commits are like your save points that you can easily go back to. Okay, branch is more of like a parallel timeline. Remember, I said that branching out is like creating same code base and maybe calling it another name. Then when you're done with your changes, you can go back. You get to understand this better when you start practicing on your own. But for the time being, just try and listen. Merge, behind the word merge as well. Merge is when you combine branches together. Probably you are combining a feature branch, a branch you created to implement a feature, to the main branch, the master branch. Okay? Then you'll be end of working directly. You'll be end of staging areas where I'll be showing you examples of this as we proceed with the course. But for now, I think this is the part I will ask. Is there any question? Is there any question? Have I lost anyone so far? Is there any question? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Is there any question? So base Git, Git or GitLab. I'm not sure that's a question. But irrespective of whether you are using GitHub or GitLab, you require Git. If that is the question you're asking, okay? So no question. See, we're all following. We're all smart people. So let's proceed. So I'll be sharing my screen now, so that we do some little practicals. Okay. So you let me know when you can see my screen. Um, 3 minutes. Okay. So you let me know when you can see my screen. Peter, you asked the question, what is the difference between base Git, GitHub, and GitLab? So I said Git is the version control system itself. Why GitLab and GitHub are just remote sites where you can host your project. Okay, so you can have Git on your system, but deciding whether you want to push to GitHub or GitLab, that is keep your code off online somewhere apart from your local system. That is based on you. So you can use any of them. It's just all dependent on you. Okay. So let's proceed with the class. So I'm tempted. I'm asking myself, which one do we use? Do we use GitHub or we use GitLab? Which one will not confuse people? So the thing is, if you can use GitHub, you should be able to use GitLab. And one thing I should also say, as developers, because I believe we are all developers and engineers here, you should learn to be able to pick up things and follow instruction. For instance, we asked everyone to create an account on GitHub. We might not have the time to start guiding you on how to create an account on GitHub. But what is the worst thing that will happen? Probably you ended up maybe creating a maybe I'm not even sure there's any worst case scenario for it. As far as you created your Gmail yourself, you should be able to create a GitHub account. So it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. So what we are going to start with is creating a repository. Okay, because we want to push. There's a code base I have here. which is part of the code base. The code base you guys use for the code system, we want to push it to a repository, GitHub. So you want this code base to be available for anyone that we add into that repositories for maybe collaboration purpose, or maybe to be able to revert to an old and maybe commit and all. So we'll be using GitHub for this purpose. But mind you, anything you can do with GitHub, you can also do with GitLab. For me, I even use more of GitLab sometimes. So GitHub is probably in one or two scenarios, but for this case, we're using GitHub. So let's proceed. So I don't know if I can make this screen. Let me see if I can make this bigger. I think we have to work with this. Okay, so I think this is a bit better. So this is my dashboard. I successfully logged in to my GitHub account. Okay, all I simply need to do is by the top, if you see where my cursor is going to, you see create new. So I'm moving towards the plus sign. I'm going to click on it and I'll select new repository. Okay, so feel free to play with other parts, like it's part of the OS plugin, but for this case scenario, we're going with repository, which is what we're after. Okay, so I'm going to click on new repository. So now we have the owner of the repository, which is my name, and the repository name. So over here, you can come up with any name of your choice. So for this, I can probably call this I intend to host. Let me minimize this. So I intend to host this folder, basic API. So for that, I'm just going to call this basic API. I'll call it basic API. So already I'm being told that basic API is available. So basic API. Okay. So I'm looking at the question. So I see something from the course curriculum is not beginner friendly. Well, so the thing is this. I will say this again. Yeah. When you are diving into a terrain that you are not used to, everything might seem scary. So all I will ask you, God's gift, find time to go and look, watch those videos again. And you have colleagues as well. Okay. I will also be having a workshop session and also mentoring session. So we will be fine. Most of the benefits you guys are getting, some of us didn't get it during our own time when we are trying to learn. So just try to exercise some patience. So let's proceed. So we're creating a new repository. Probably you want to call it a new folder, but the actual name is repository, okay? Under GitHub. This is where we want to push our code to. So I'm calling my basic API. You can come up with any name of your choice as far as it's under your own account. So mine is under my ECJ for which is my own account. Okay. So the next thing we have is description. So the description part is optional. But one thing you should start learning at these basic stages, ensure you do a lot of description and commenting. You want people to be able to come to your code or maybe your repository or whatever the case may be, and they can easily get an understanding of what you are trying to achieve. So probably for this, I can say a project that explains the basic structure of APIs, link type stuff. So, but don't forget that this is optional. Okay, this is optional. So you can decide not to fill anything here. That is your choice. So the next thing we have is public and private. So If you are doing this as I'm doing this and you read carefully, there's already an explanation of what public is and what private is. For some of us having issues, it's probably because we are not used to reading and following instructions. You need to learn to do that, okay? So, looking at this, we are already told that if we are selecting public, anyone on the internet can see this repository. You get? But if you are selecting private, the only ones that can see it are the people you give access to it. So it's not a question of do I want to make this project public or do I want to make it private? So that is dependent on you. But for me, I'm going to make this private. Okay, so let's proceed. I select private and I proceed. So the next part is this. Initialize this repository with add a README file. So for the sake of all of us that are beginners, everyone, I will advise that you ignore this, and this. Ignore everything you have here for now. Because the moment you do this, you start probably facing one or two errors, and I don't want to go into that for now. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for now. But as time goes on, feel free to play with it. So README in most cases should carry the description of your project. So it's supposed to be in your project repository already. So for instance, if I'm to go to my project repository, which is the basic API, there's already a README file here. So if I'm to initialize the repository with a README, it's going to cause a conflict already because I already have it here. So I advise when creating this, just start blank. Just decide, give it a name one, then give it a description if you want to, optional. Then decide if you want public or private. Every other thing you can ignore for now, okay? As time goes on, please go ahead and practice on your own, okay? So let's proceed. I'm going to click on create repository. So now I have this repository created. So if you notice, the reason I'm even doing this gradually is because I want you guys to learn to just follow instruction, because literally everything we'll be doing here, the instructions are already there for us. So look at it now. So quick setup, if you have done this kind of thing before, you can simply just copy this, but let's calm down. I'm going to go to, or in this case, I'm assuming that we have not done this before. We are all learners now. Or creating a new repository on the command line. No, that is not what we are doing. Or pushing an existing repository from the command line. This is what we are doing. So don't let the word repository confuse you. It's just your code base. So what we are trying to achieve in this class is we have a code base already. I will intend to push it here. Okay? So this is what we do. Before anything at all, the first thing you want to do is this command, git init. Git init. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open my terminal. My terminal now. I'm already inside my basic API. From the first class I had, I already explained on how you can get access to this. The whole CD, desktop, CD, the name of the folder you're going, you should be used to this already. So I'm already there. So if I do ls, it shows me the list of files I have already. So like I said, if you want to add Git to your code base, the first thing you want to do is do this, git init. So it's like initialization, okay? When you do this, I don't know if you guys noticed something. Formerly, in the name part, there was nothing like a master something. Now you're saying a master something. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm trying to make this class as practical as possible. So please, So the dollar sign you are seeing is because of we are using um, batch. We are using Git batch, and I want you guys to get used to it. I can do the same thing on the Windows terminal, and the dollar sign will be showing there. But you guys need to get used to it. If you are using a window terminal, you won't get to see this master something you're seeing here. So this gives you more visibility. Okay. So please find time to install Windows Git batch, Git on your system that comes with a Git batch. Then open the Git batch. So this software itself, let me even close it. Probably that's what I should have done. All I did to open that software was to click on start and do Git batch. It's an app. Okay. Then when you open it, the dollar sign will always be there. It's not like you're doing anything about it. So my folder is at the desktop. So let me first do ls here. So ls gives me a list of stuffs based on the current directory I'm located. I'm going to the desktop. Let's not forget, because my code base is at the desktop. So I click on cd desktop. Let me hide this. I'm not gonna click so it comes up. So I'm at my desktop now, right? Then I do ls again to see the folder structure. I'm going to the basic API, which is where my code base is. So I do cd basic. I can just press tab and it automatically gives me the rest characters to type instead of typing everything. And I click on it. Now my basic API. So mind you, the only command we have won is what? Git init. Git init. As far as they have Git. So this works for all. Like, in fact, there's even possibility that what you be putting to your Git might not even be code related. That is on you. Okay. So you can simply use it to keep track of systems. Maybe Word documents if you want to be funny. I don't really know. But it's mainly for code purpose. Okay. So I want Git init. I'm going to go back to the instructions I have over here. The next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to do this line. So please, I'm going to do this line. Okay. I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. Yeah, you should be able to see my screen. So I do Git init. Uh, Probably I want to add everything. Okay, you know what? Let's not confuse everybody. Let's start with this. We did Git init. Let me follow the one that has everything on it. We have Git init, which is the first one, right? We're not going to do readme because this readme is assuming that you selected readme at the point of creating this whole stuff and creating the repository. Okay, so instead, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to do first, I'm going to do git status. Please take note of the commands. You also have the command listed in the slide as well, okay? But just take note of it. So somebody said batch is saying too many arguments. That is weird. How many things are you typing? Is anybody still experiencing the same thing? So can you probably try ls to know where you are, Peter? Try ls to know where you are. And mind you, if using batch is difficult for you, you can use your normal terminal. But I want us to get used to this, okay? So, Esther, I'm looking at your question. Say, after creating, what next? So, after creating, what did I do next? I went to my terminal. I made sure I cd into where I have the code base that I want to push. So, if you notice, I even started the whole process all over again. I opened Git patch. Or is it that you guys don't want Git patch? Let's use our normal terminal. Is that what you want? Even if you're going to say yes, I will say no. Because you need to start getting used to this, okay? That first time we use the basic command line so that we don't scare people. The ones won't kill you, make you stronger. So start getting used to this, okay? It's not difficult. You even enjoy this more based on the whole coloring stuff and all. So you type cd_dsa. So first thing first, you need to confirm if the DSA you are trying to access is on that directory you are. So why not type ls first of all and check what is listed out to confirm if DSA is there. That is for Peter. So back to you, Esther. Um, I created a repository. It's there on its own. Now I seed into where my project is, which is what? Basic API. Then the next thing I did was what? Git init. Okay. Then after doing Git init, I got this master stuff at the front showing that this is now a Git repository. Changes here can now be managed and probably tracked. Okay. So the next thing I want to do now is Git status. So the reason I'm doing this is just to see the status of what I have, and I want to carry everyone along. So you can see I'm on branch master. Okay. No commits yet. I have untracked files. So literally they are listing all the files I have on my code base. If you check this and you check this, you'll see it's literally the same thing. And mind you, if you are using Git and you are using VS Code and you have Git extension, you should come with it installed already. You can also see this Git icon here, source control. It's telling me I have 11 pending changes because I've not pushed anything. And if you count all the files one by one, they are up to 11. So, but before I proceed with this code base, I want to do something. I hope you guys still remember how to run this code base. This is the code stuff we did back then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do npm install, just npm install, nothing more than that. There's a reason for that. I want to show you guys something. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to do, let me clear. I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to clear. If you remember, for the other normal terminal for Windows, what we use is CLS. But if you are using Git Bash, you are typing the full clear, which makes more sense for me. So I'm going to type clear. I just want to clear everything so that you guys see what I'm typing, okay? So what do I want to do? I'm in my code base. If you recall how we ran that code base for codes, the first thing we did was npm install. I'm assuming everyone remembers. So I'm going to do npm install. So that it installs all the packages that is needed for that code base. So it's done. I'm going to go back to the code base and show you something. I go back here directly. Yeah. Okay. So you can now see node module. There's a folder now called node module. So please for those that have access to LMS, of which should be everyone, the class doesn't end there. You can still ask questions via the chat over there and we'll reply you. Okay? So I just hope I've not lost anyone yet. So my desktop is where I click my DSA project. Then they say, so first thing first, are you on your desktop first? When you did ls, can you confirm if you're on your desktop? So if you're not on your desktop, you need to get to your desktop first of all. That is just it. So you need to probably do cd desktop. Then you can now see your projects. Then probably you should be having issues with space because of your DSA has project. So what I would advise you to do, a shortcut for that is just type DSA, then press your tab key. It should help you complete it. Then you should be fine. Okay, that's for Peter. So moving on. For as I was saying, we have everyone will get access to it. Everyone should have access to it, and it's something we'll follow up on. Okay, everyone should have access to it. So back to the code base. If you notice, everything is showing green. My code base is still telling my Git source code is still telling me I have 11 pending change, but it's not taking note of the node modules. If you even click on the node modules, try to open it, you see that there are even several more files inside this node module. but this particular setup is not even taking note of it. In other words, it's not going to push it. Oh, you're welcome, Peter. It's not going to even push the node module. Why? If you go to this file called Git Ignore, there's a list of things inside Git Ignore telling Git to ignore some files. And if you check, you see the first name of the file there, folder there is what? Node modules. So be it file, be it folder, if there are stuffs you don't want to be pushed, probably because of size. For instance, stuff like node modules, you don't need to push it because by the time you run npm install, you get it. You need to specify it under your Git ignore. So Git is not going to push this. The reason I'm even showing you this now is because by the time we go to our repository on GitHub, when we are done pushing, we are not going to see this node module because it's part of what we don't want here. So we have node module that is going to be ignored. We have another folder dist that is going to be ignored. Then any file ending with QODO is also going to be ignored as well. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to go back to my terminal. So if you check on my terminal, let me clear again. I'm going to do git status again. Well, it's still not taking note of what the node module. This is the files it's keeping track of. If I need it to take note of the node mode, I need to go and remove that line under Git ignore. But in this case, it's not necessary. You don't need to push your node module anytime, anywhere in the future. It's not something you need to do. So that is for node related projects. For Laravel related projects, you have vendor. You don't need to push your vendor. So depending on your code base, anything you feel there is a command to run to recreate it, you don't need to push it. Okay. So if you are doing Git init and it's not working, it's probably because maybe you don't have Git installed. But to confirm if it's not working, can you probably try do Git space status or confirm if Git is installed on your system? So yes, Git ignore is tracked by Git. So let's proceed. So we have done this so far. The only thing we have done is Git init. Git status is just to give us a summary of what we have done so far. So I'm going to go back to our browser and follow instruction. Remember, the reason I'm doing this is so that you can learn to follow instruction as well. And same thing we are doing here, same thing you can do for what? For maybe GitLab, or maybe there's another one out there. Okay. So I'm going to do the next one, which is this line, Git commit. I'm just going to copy the line. Don't forget, I said we are skipping the add readme because we did not specify to add readme at the point of creating the repository. That's why we're not doing that line. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my terminal and put this. Okay, so you can paste. Okay, so there's that. So git commit. So let me explain this line quickly. So git commit is a command. Then you see this -m is after -m, what you follow is a message you want that commit to read. So I can choose to say, mind you, I already explained what commit means. Commit is like what? Save points. I also use the game scenario for it. And probably if you want to take your project back to an old place, you'll be moving back to an existing commit, an existing save point. Okay? So let me slow down here for now and just check if there's any question because by 8 we'll be having our attendance. So is there any question for now, please? I'll be looking at the questions on the live chat for now. I'll be looking at the questions on the live chat for now. So is there any question? So readme. So like I said, readme should carry probably proper descriptions of your endpoints. So if you want to be a good developer, you need to learn to make good use of your readme. Add a lot of description. So if you have access to the Probably I'll explain more on it when we return back from the attendance. Okay, so just I'll pick up from there. So let's do our attendance follow. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So, I'll just kick off from the question. I can't recall his name. Concerning the essence of README. Okay, so README is like probably you get, let me say, a new device, a phone, and there's like a manual that comes with the phone on how you can do XYZ with the phone. That is what a README is supposed to serve in terms of programming wise. So, for instance, if you look at the code base, the one we have for this code, the one we are using that everyone should have, you see that the README was properly structured by the instructors to ensure that it carries proper description of what this whole project is all about. Okay, let me share my screen quickly to show that so that we're on the same page. So, few minutes. Interesting. Okay. So if you look at this README, this is a README for the code base. If you are seeing my screen now, just give it some time to come up. I think it's taking a bit long to come up. Don't know if you guys can see my screen now. Okay, it's up now. So, if you are seeing this, if you are seeing the README on this code base, we are seeing a proper description as to what this project is all about, the features in the project, and also take note of all this. You see this here has a singular asterisk, a singular hash sign, double hash sign. We have some hyphens here. Take note of all this because by the time you push, you see a proper structure. Okay, so your readme should carry proper description of what your endpoint should look like. But most of us developers have bad habits of just focusing on the code base and leaving the readme. Besides, it's not gonna run. It's just for description, but it's good practice you make your readme as robust as possible. Also using comments as well. Let's not forget that as well. Okay. So I think that is readme. I think I can just stop the video. So let's proceed. Let's proceed. So I'm going to go back to my terminal now and continue. So the next thing we're doing is commit. So remember, I told you commit is what? Save points, right? We want to save all these things. But before we even do commit, we need to do git add first of all. So look at this. They say I'm reading the message I have over here. If you look at what I have here, so it's telling me nothing to add to commit, but to on track file, nothing to commit, but on track files present. All these files we have over here in red, they're on track. By the time they start being tracked, they should be in green. So they say use git add to watch to track. So I'm going to show you how to use git add first of all, because you should do that before you commit. So I'm going to do git add. I'm going to pick just one of the files we have here. Let me say tests.js. Okay, I'm done with that. I'm going to clear my screen again. I'm going to do git status again. I don't know if you guys notice the difference. So now we have change to be committed in green. So now this one is on stage now. If you remember during my slide, there's a working directory and the stage directory. This test.js now is on the stage directory. How do we download GitHub? Please, you don't download GitHub, but GitHub is a website, okay? Just go to github.com or maybe GitLab and create an account. You are not downloading it. The only thing you are downloading is Git. Okay, so let's proceed. So instead of adding all these files one by one, because eventually I'm pushing everything, there's an easier way to do it. Instead of calling all the file name one by one, I can simply do git add dot. So that dot is signifying to add everything on this repository, on this folder. Let me call it folder. Okay. Once I do that, I'm going to clear my screen again. Then I do git status. Now you can see this changes to be committed. I just hope I've not lost anyone yet. So just watch changes to be committed. So this is it. Okay. So now the next thing you want to do is to commit this change. Everything we are doing so far is locally, like they are still on our system. Well, I can decide to continuously work on this, manage the versioning of my system without even pushing to either maybe GitHub or GitLab. That is my choice. But for the sake of this class, I need everyone to have an idea of how to push your code base over there. Especially when you start working on your project and you have maybe one or two people extra working with you, they need to have access to your code base. So it needs to be on GitHub or GitLab, whichever case you want to choose. Okay, so let's proceed. So now let me mention the commands I've done so far. I've done git init to initialize the git on that particular folder. That was the first one we do. Take note that git status is just to check to know what we have done. I won't count that as a major command I've done. Okay. Next thing we did was to do git add. We added a singular file, just for example, and we did git add dot to add everything. And mind you, if you take note, the things we are adding is ignoring everything inside the git ignore, like the node module folder. You won't see the folder structure here. You can see the source folder and everything inside the source folder. We are not seeing node modules here because it's ignored. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do now is to commit. So for that, to do git commit, which is like creating a save point that we can easily return back to. So do git commit -m, then in quotes. So the -m is telling me the message I want to call this commit. And you're going to see this message once we push. Okay. So let me say I'm going to call this the initial stage. And let me clear the whole of this so it comes up. So I'm going to do git commit. Hope you know clear is not part of the git commands. I'm just clearing the screen. Okay. So I'll do this. I can do the initial stage of the project. For some users or developers, they like to call this maybe the first commit. So you can be as creative as you want to be. Any name you want to come up with is your choice, but it's advisable you give commit name that relates to what you just did. If it's a new feature you're adding to an existing project, you want to describe that new feature in the smallest way possible as your commit message. So that by the time you come back to this commit message, you can easily recall, oh, this is what I was doing when I pushed this part. Okay, so let's proceed. I'm going to do enter now. So now it's telling me something, and I'm happy I'm even getting this error. It's because I've not pushed on this system before. So if it's your first time pushing on your system, you are going to see this prompt. Yes, you will watch it and you'll be fine. Okay. If it's the first time doing any commit message, because you need the Git system need to take note of who is making this commit. So I'm going to follow this example here and configure the whole of this. Okay. So the first command say git config global user.email. I'll put my email. Then I do git config. So this is going to ask you just once as far as you're setting this thing globally, which is what we're doing. After that, no matter the number of times you push, it has already taken note of what you set as the email and username. It's going to ask you for it again. So how wordy can it can it message be? I'm not sure there is a specific limit. If there is one, I can't recall. So feel free to explore on that. I don't know the kind of, so just make sure it's just a brief summary of that. It doesn't have to be very long. Probably you want to work with maybe 50 characters or 100 characters in your head, nothing too much. Okay. So as for the email username, does it have to be the, yes, please use the one you use on your GitHub stuff. Yeah, that will help. Okay. Use the one you have on GitHub stuff. So I'm going to do Git name. The Git name, I can just use my name for that. I'll just do this for that. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm done with that now. So I'm going to go back to the last command I write. So I'm not. They're using this whole Git batch. I don't need to start typing again. I can easily just press my arrow key up. It's going to show me previous command I've typed. Okay. I'm sure another benefit of using Git batch. For those that still prefer normal terminal, please use Git batch. So this is what we are trying to run when we got the prompts to set our email, configure our email and what our username. Okay. So now I'm going to press enter and we are done. It didn't prompt me for that again. So let me clear this. I'm going to do Git status now. So it's telling me I'm on master branch, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. So if I go back to my code repository, my code base, if you notice all these things, they are not showing in green again because it has been marked, it has been saved in the Git system. Formerly, you see something like 11 here, it's no longer there. Okay? But so far, all these things we are doing so far, they are still on our system. If I'm to go back to my browser, go back to GitHub, no, we're not committing one file. I did git add dot to commit all the files. If it was only one file I committed, you will still see maybe 10 of them still showing that green. We committed everything. Yeah, someone is accidentally lost. Just take your time to watch the video again, okay? You will be fine. It's actually not difficult. It's part of the easiest parts in our journey so far, so please, okay? So let's go back. You're welcome. So we have done the commit part. Mind you, we didn't use the message first commit. We went with our own message. So feel free to be as creative as possible. So the next thing we want to do is this. So this is just creating a branch. We can ignore this, but I want you guys to just learn to follow what they have and use. I can as well decide to push to this branch we have here, which is master. But I don't want you guys to make reference to the file and you're seeing something different. So I'm just going to follow through with all the conditions we have here. So let's proceed. Don't worry. We'll get there. So let's go back to this guy. So I'm going to copy this line next. So we're branching out to a main branch. We're creating a new main branch, which is this. So Git branch, main branch, and we're calling it main. So if you notice, what we had here before was master. Now it has changed to what? Main. We are still safe. Okay? So now let's go back. As you can see, it's not difficult. All I'm doing is simply just copying and pasting. All the instructions are there already. You don't need to cram. Okay? I'm going to copy this line and I'm going to explain. So I'll go back here and I come here and I paste. Where's that paste? Yeah, paste. So if you notice, I'm not doing Ctrl V. It's not going to work here. You literally need to right click and you paste. So now, git remote add origin this. So all this is doing is adding this guy. This guy is the URL of the repository we created. If you go back to your browser, you can see the URL here at the top side. There's an option to use SSH and let's just leave that part for now. I intend not to add to your problem. SSH and HTTPS. But take note, this is it here. Okay, so we have this here. So let's go back. So there's every high tendency that this thing will not allow me push, but let's just give it a try. Let's see how it goes. Any issue we meet on the way, we solve it. So I'm going to add this, and I'm done. So the next thing I'm going to do is what? I'm going to do something like git remote v. So it's showing me the URL I just added. So meaning I can push to this particular, I can fetch and I can push to this repository I just added. In other words, I can add multiple repositories. I can decide to maybe I want to also push this code base to GitHub and GitLab. I can create a GitLab repository and also put it here, but I will also need to create another name for it. In this place, you are saying origin. I'll probably need to give it another name. Maybe I'll call it GitLab. You will learn this thing more when you practice. Okay. So now the next command we are going to do now, which there's high tendency to not work because I've not pushed in this system before. But let's see what happens. I'm going to copy this. So when you push, you have to specify. Yeah, when you push, you have to specify, which is the next command we are copying. Let's go back. So I can as well just type the command, but I want you guys to see that come. It's not like I invented this command. We have it somewhere. All you need to do is to follow instructions, okay? So I'll paste this. Okay, no, I think I overcopied. Let me clean this guy. So now we're doing git push. This tree is telling you you're setting something called offstream, but let's ignore that. Let me make sure I copied exactly what we want. Yep. Git push u origin. There's a long format for it, but ignore. This works, this works. Okay. So git push u origin. Then the name of the branch I'm pushing. So this origin is saying I'm pushing to this particular one, right? Remember, I told you you can have multiple remotes. Assuming maybe I called this thing GitLab, this particular origin, and maybe I called it GitLab. Meaning over here it should be called GitLab as well. But in this case, it's origin. Conventionally, the first one we do call it what origin is the first one. So let's try push and see if it will go. Let's play. Okay, so look at this now. It's telling me that a permission denied, public key. So there's a new a setup that require you need to set something like token and all to be able to push. Let's see, can we do that? So we have 826 permission denied, public key. We'll now read from the note. So let's go. Let me just go. I'm just going to go to the repository and do some stuff because I would have said, you know what, take this as an assignment, find a way to push, but some people are already lost. Let's see if we can reduce the burden on them. So let me see. Uh, there's a way you can do that. Just give me a few minutes. Let me see. I'm trying to recall. So, let's like it like. So before now, before this whole security stuff and all, when you encounter you, it will just usually ask you for maybe your username and password, stuff like that. Okay. While I'm searching on where to go, let me see. Allow automatic issue. Change disable. Okay, so I think I can just do this. Let me look this. Okay, so disable will allow you to enforce smash that. No, this is not what we want. Okay. So I will just be looking at questions right now. Yeah, so user. So if it's asking for your username and password, that is all fine and good. You can just enter your username and password. So okay, let me see. Let me change this to tokens. Okay, tokens. Settings tokens. Let me see. Settings tokens. I'm not seeing anything tokens here. Is it deployment key? Hold on, please. Okay, so we can set up tokens and all. Okay, so now hold on. Let me do this. Let's go on settings token. Okay, so I set up token. So I'm supposed to set this up on my profile. But like I said, I'm not a GitHub fan. But let's see. So just follow through. It's not actually difficult. Find new tokens. Okay. Need an API token to generate new token. Confirm. So token name, let me just call it owner, expiration date, public repository, all repository. So this is if you get this error, okay? Apply to all kind of permission, choose minimum permission, repository permission, accessible, administrative. So let me just say yes for this. We don't write. I don't want to find. I think I can just leave it. Commit, push. Pull request, push request. There's a whole lot. Not variable. Hmm. 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 Okay, do not. Hold on. Let me do this again. Okay, tokens. So we have tokens here. Okay. Generate new token. General use. Classic token. Please, let's just go with this. Okay. So I just got this. So please, you can go back and rewatch this so you don't get confused. This is just me giving permission so that I should be able to push and pull from my system. I actually don't need everything. I can just specify the push. So I think the major one I need is more of repo. Let me see. There's a whole lot. So I'm looking for just Git lights, latest stuff. Okay, so projects, full control of projects. Uh, sorry. Okay, so generate token. I'll just go ahead and select everything. We don't need copilots yet. Don't need audit log. We're not doing anything enterprise. We might not need to delete the code, but let's leave that. User and expression, create admin, right. Yeah, so I think this is the major thing we need. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and generate token. I just hope I've not lost anyone. Let me look at the task quickly. So what we are doing is this. Since this is the first time I'm pushing in this system, if I was to push with my own system, I won't get this. Okay. But since it's the first time I'm pushing with this, that's why I'm getting this. So what I'm going to do now is to go back here. I'm going to go back to my GitHub. I'm going to add another repository. In fact, this is an opportunity for me to show you guys how to add another repository. So basic API. This time around, I'm going to use HTTPS. I won't use SSH. So I'm going to copy this. Okay. So the first one we used was SSH. So I'm going to do this. Let me clear this. Git remote arch. Let me call this Git up. Origin. Yeah. I call this Git. Then I paste this. So So all I'm going to do is to run the last command I tried running. I'll just change this to Git. So let's wait. Okay, and we are in. So the reason I was having those plenty errors and all was because I was trying to work with Git, the SSH parts, of which I prefer using SSH because I'm used to it. But to avoid those plenty stuff, to do the whole SSH stuff, you need to set up stuff like token and all this, etc., etc. But you can just go ahead and just do HTTPS, of which is just going to ask you for your email and password, like what the other person mentioned on the comments. So now, what I'm going to do now is this: we have pushed now. Few minutes. I'm going to look at the questions. Okay. Yeah. So if it's asking you for remote URL because probably you did not do this command, we did this command that adds a remote URL. So that is the essence of this command. Okay. So just ignore the token parts. Okay, let's ignore the token parts. I can redo this process so that we don't get anyone confused, but let's calm down. So if I refresh this, I should see my code here, but let's ignore. Let's assume that we are starting the process again so that we don't confuse everyone for the sake of carrying everyone along. So let's do this. I'm going to ignore this repository. What I'll do is this. Uh, I'm going to do git init again. Okay, and I'll make this very fast. I'm redoing this process again, so take notes, git init. So it's clear, nothing to commit. I'm going to go back here. I'll create another repository. Search something quick, okay? I just call this test purpose, something like this. Then I come here, I leave it, I can do private, I ignore description, I leave every other thing and create. I'm fast with this because I've done this process already, okay? So we don't confuse everyone. So what I'm after is this guy, right? This HTTP, not the SSH. I'm going to go back. I do git status. There's nothing. No problem. I do git remote view. We still have these two guys. There's a way you can delete remotes, but let's leave those two guys. So, but if you go back here now, this is the one I just created. It's still empty. There's nothing there. So assume we are starting afresh, okay? So I go back here now. All I need to do is to do git remote add. Then you can call this maybe origin or whatever you want to call it. I can call this one main branch or something. Then the URL I just copied. This is the remote URL, right? Then I can now do git push. Then do this. U is to set upstream. In this case, I'm using what main branch here as the name, and it's done. Now, if I go back here, this is a branch I just created now, and I reload. You see that you have your code base there, so it's not difficult. Don't let the whole token stuff confuse you, but you can play with it later on. Okay, it's a learning process. You can play with it later on. As me, I was using my Mac, it was already set up there. I've not set it up here on this Windows. I'm only using this Windows for this learning purpose. Okay, so let's proceed. I want to show you some stuff. So if you notice this, look at the timing we have here. You're seeing 17 minutes ago. This 17 minutes ago was the time we created these commits. And look at the commit message, the initial stage of the project. And if you also notice, there is no node module. Then for the person asking me about the README, can you see how this thing looks like? If you notice in the README file, we have, let me go there. We have, this is a README, yeah. You can see this hash and double hash, right? But over here, it's not appearing as hash or double hash. You are seeing it this way. So these are ways you want styling on readme.md files, okay? So take note of it. You can see everything is well formatted. We didn't draw any table. Instead, what we had was this. But over here, it's more structured. So you can still do more research on how you can create a more readme. If readme is your own, you can just create more on it. It's a good practice, but that doesn't mean your project will not be pushed successfully if you don't have it. So I will look at questions quickly for those I lost in the process to see if I can get some people back before we continue with the slide. Okay. So let's look at questions. So sir, I did not do the but I was able to push it. You must have done it. There's no way you push without doing that part. Okay. So you must have done it. Maybe you do it and you didn't remember. You must have done it. So is there any other question before we proceed with the slide? Is there any question or we are all lost now? Let me quickly look at the chat if there's any message I missed. So origin, okay. Oh, I always thought origin was a keyword. No, it's not a keyword. It's a name. You can play with it. The keywords we have there is more of git, commit, add, status. Origin is just a name. Okay. So when you push, do you have a specific or it push to all the remote? So when you are pushing, like I did, you need to specify the remotes you are pushing to. It's not like you are pushing to all, it's one by one. If you have multiple remotes added, you need to. I have a concern with the module quiz. Probably you want to type your concern. I was graded. Okay, here is AI grading. Why did it ask for token? Do you know? So okay, so the token it was asking for token because I was using SSH. If you notice, the URL presented to me will have the one of HTTPS and SSH. So for SSH, you need to do proper authentication and all, which requires token. In some cases, you add token based on project, some is based on your full account as a whole. And I don't have that set up on the system. Okay. I'm not sure I want to answer that question now. What is the difference between SSH and you all know what HTTP stands for, Hypertext Transfer Code. SSH, can I recall what it means? So the thing is, I can't recall the terms, but I know I do it more often. So you use SSH more when you are signing up remotely to a server and all. So I don't want to add to your problem. So just you can probably ignore that. You can do more research on that. Okay, yeah, secure share. Yeah, thank you. Secure share. So let's continue with the slide. Is there anyone still confused or we can continue? So SSH adds a layer of security. So, like I said, it's still security related. Is anyone still confused? Can we go on with the slide? We don't have much time, and I'm still looking at probably doing one or two demo if time permits us. So let's proceed. So we've looked on how we can create a repository on GitHub. And mind you, I say the same way you do on GitHub, you can do the same thing on GitLab. If time permits us, we can do that. But for now, let's just proceed. Okay, you can do that on your own. Yes, you can also use your CMD for pusher on. They are all terminals, but I prefer you start getting used to Git batch. Except you are planning that you don't intend to leave Windows system, of which I'm planning for you to leave Windows system. So start getting used to it. So in terms of the way I showed you the commands, let's not forget I started with the git init, which is the very first command. Then I did git add. I'm not counting git status, remember. Then I did git add dots to add everything I'm pushing. If it's just a specific file, I can do git add. Then I specify the path to the file name. Then I did git commit -m with the message of the commit message. Then I did the git push underscore u, the name of the origin, the branch, and that is it. So you can go through the video later on to get a proper understanding, but it's not difficult. So if you have a repository already, you can push an existing repository. Except you have a code base there already, Except you have a code base there already, then you will get merge conflicts. We will discuss that in the course of this. So let's proceed. I'll look at the questions later. I'll look at the questions later. I got your question and we'll come back to that later, okay? So Git lifecycle. I don't have much time. Git lifecycle. So if you look at what we just did now, there's a reason why I went to the practical aspects so that we can match it up with what we have in the rest of the slides that we'll be working with. Okay? So we all saw the whole on tracked. At the first time we did the Git init and status, we saw that all the files we have there were untracked. As far as they are not inside the Git ignore file. I don't know if you guys can see the slide properly. So the first thing we did was Git init, then we did our Git add, then we did Git commit, then we Git push, right? So if you're having connection issues, in most cases, it's more of internet related. And please let's not forget, I keep on specifying that your node modules should not be pushed because in most cases, node modules are very large, especially when you have a lot of packages you have installed in your project. So you don't need to push it. Okay. So we move on to the next slide. There's nothing really much to show here because it's what we just practiced on right now, right? So you can always make reference to this later. So I have some common commands, which is basically what almost we have practiced almost everything here, apart from the Git clone. So you literally use the Git clone when you are cloning an existing project. Let me say someone added it to a repository and you want to work on that repository. The first thing you're going to do is to do git clone with the URL. So I will advise you guys practice this on your own. You might not be able to demo this today. Okay? Then going to the next one. Everything here should be making sense now with bits. Since it's something we are used to. I'm assuming we're all used to based on we all did this process together. Okay? So a Git in action, if it's a existing code base on someone, you want to clone the repo first, you want to make your changes, you want to Git add, you want to commit, then you are pushing. Same thing. There's nothing much to specify here. Okay. So now GitHub and GitLab. So they are same web platforms. Okay. Basically, what you do with both platforms is to host Git repository works online. Okay. So for both platforms, what do they allow you to do? They store your code in the cloud, which is what we just did now, right? You can collaborate with others. In other words, I can go to my repository. Let me go there. Let's say I go here. Yep. Let's see. How do we do this? I can go settings. Let's say I go to settings. So I'm expecting you guys to find a way to explore on your own. You can see collaborators already by the. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share that quickly to show this. Few minutes. So I'm trying as much as possible so that you guys have a visual representation of what is being done so far. So let me share my screen. Share. Okay, that's share. So we are back to the repository I just created, the test purpose, right? In a few minutes you should be seeing my screen. Just give it some time. So waiting for that to come up. Should be seeing my screen very soon. I think I'm supposed to select it. Yeah, it's okay. So let me know when you can see my screen. In the meantime, I'll just look at some questions. So I saw one question from what's his name? Let's see. Please, you can drop your questions now. I'm trying to recall the question. Uh, so for some reasons I can't remember that question again. Okay, do you need to come because okay, no, I answered that already. I use public because it will be easier to access. Okay, so I see someone using public instead of private. So if you are doing for real life scenario, you don't want to make your project public. You don't want anybody to just have access to your project and download. If it's something, except it's a project you want to probably set as open source, maybe you just want to use it to promote your profile and all. But for let's say you are working in a company, you won't see them making the repository public. It will be private. Then everyone that need to have access to it, they'll be added as collaborators. Okay. So I'm trying to let me share my screen again for some reason. It's not it's not working. I'll try and share again. Uh, just, okay, so why that comes up, I'll just look at questions again. I have a concern with the modular place. Okay, we can take that in chat. I didn't attend. So can we use our CMD? Yeah, I already answered that. You can use your CMD. If you are still against Git patch, please feel free to use your CMD. Once if you have a repository before, if it's empty, you can push to it. But if you have something inside there already, it's going to give you an error. You won't be able to push to it. You will need to do a lot of fix a lot of merge conflicts. We call them merge conflicts because stuffs are there already that doesn't tally with your code base structure. So you do a lot of fixing. So when one is deploying to production for the data GitLab, won't node module gate be a problem? Yeah, it won't be a problem because when you are deploying, since you're asking deployment questions already, which is not a bad thing, you need to set some kind of commands that will run on the server. So for instance now, if you are setting up a node project, you are not pushing node module. But what you want to do is after deployment is done successfully, you want to be able to SSH into that server via your Git actions and all, and run certain commands like npm install. The moment you do npm install, automatically those files, node modules, will be created automatically. Okay, so you don't need to do that. It's a pro. You don't have to. It's not done because it's always heavy. Okay, so I'm not sure there's any questions so far. I'm assuming everyone is understanding everything, or you guys are just probably tired. See, some are even asking what today's topic is. I'm not the one that will answer that for you. So let's proceed with the slide. For some reasons, my screen is not coming up, but nevertheless, if you have to add someone, all you need to do is to go to settings, then you see collaborators. When you click on collaborators, you can get the email address of the person you want to add, then you add it to your project. It's very easy. So I want you guys to develop the habit of exploring on your own. We literally will not be able to show you everything, but on your own, you should be able to. What if I try this? What will happen? The worst thing that will happen is you will delete the repository and you start afresh. Okay? So how do I send a complaint via mail? I will probably find a way to get that for you. So let's proceed to the next slide. So over here I have a brief a difference between GitHub and GitLab. So in terms of ownership, GitHub is owned by Microsoft, while GitLab is independent. GitLab owns GitLab. Okay. So before now, we have public being only free, while private you have a limit. But for now, both public and private repos they are both free. Okay. GitHub supports CI/CD integration externally via GitHub Actions. You will get to learn that later on your own. While GitLab has built-in CI/CD. CI/CD means continuous integration, continuous development. Don't let that confuse you. You will get that on your own. Okay. For now, what I'm focused on is to make sure that you learn how to install Git on your system, learn how to initiate Git one, add files for tracking, add the commit message, and add the repository, then you push. So just know that if I'm to make another change, I don't need to add repository again. All I need to do is to make the change, then do git add. Then after making the change, I save your normal save from your code editors and all. Then you do git add, then you commit again with message concerning what you just did, then you do git push. Okay, so we can go through these differences later. They're not really much. Then over here, I have a just a brief diagram showing you the flow of how branching works. Okay, you can be on a master branch. You can create a branch. It branches out. You make several commit messages over there. Then you can merge back to that branch. So by the time you begin to understand it, I'm not sure it's something you want to do without, because you want to avoid the case whereby probably you are working on your system and maybe something happens to your system, maybe the RAM or whatever got bad, and your project is lost. So when you develop the habit of pushing to somewhere in the cloud, which is GitHub or GitLab, you are rest assured that you always have somewhere to pick up your code base from. Even if you can even probably take up another person's system, pull your code base, do what you have to do, and move on with your life. That is another essence of Git. Okay, so please, you need to, starting from now, develop the habit of pushing. The moment before you start your whole code structure, the moment you are done with the first setup, and before you start building any feature, the first step you want to take is do your git init, git add, git commit, first stage of the project or first commit, push. Then by the time you complete any endpoint, you create commit messages for that endpoint and you push. Okay, so please learn to make it an habit. It will help you. So to the next slide, handling merge conflict. So I'll call this Ija. So we'll know what conflict. I'm assuming everyone here knows what conflict means. It's like two people fighting, right? So handling merge conflict. I know I've mentioned something like merge, like you can branch out, then you merge back. There's every possibility that after branching out and you're trying to merge back, you have a conflict. So reasons why conflict occurs. Probably a case of two people editing the same line of a file. Mind you, no Git is meant for collaboration as well. There's possibility that the line you are working on, another person is also working on that line in his own copy. So by the time you guys merge, there's a conflict. Okay? Or maybe one person deletes a file, another person is editing it. There will always be a conflict. So it's a good key for you to know how to merge. So what I have here is just a list of the steps to take. It might not be enough, but please, if you can find time to go through it, because I'm assuming that you might not encounter any merge issue for now, as far as you are the only one working on your code base. But by the time you have one or two people collaborating with you, then you will start experiencing this. All you need to do is to follow the process. There's a command for git merge. It's called git merge. Research on it. You open the files that have conflicts. You manually edit it. Then you commit. Then you push. It's not difficult. So just follow the steps I have here. You try to merge. If you are still getting conflict, it shows you the files that has conflicts. You resolve the conflict yourself. You settle the fight yourself manually. Then you push everything to staging. You know how to push stuff to staging is by doing your git add. Abi? Then you commit. You can commit it like merge conflict resolved or whatever. That can be the message. Then you push. That is how you resolve merge conflict. It's not difficult. It might not make sense to you to encounter a real life conflict in terms of Git, not fights, physical fight. I mean, when you encounter that, then this will make sense to you. Then common mistakes people make, sensitive data commit. So somebody was mentioning something about a token related stuff and all. Is that not supposed to be private? Yes. There's some stuff that should not be as part of your code base. For example, credentials. You don't want to save stuff like that in your code base. Okay. Yeah. You don't want to practice stuff like that on your code base. Okay. You save something like that on your code base because you're assuming that everybody that have access to that project will see those sensitive data. So imagine you're integrating in, let me say, a payment solution to your system. And maybe this payment solution, you can even withdraw from the credentials they gave to you. And you're leaving that in exposed in your code base. Anybody that have access to that code base can easily just pick that credential and do some malicious stuff with it. So you want to avoid that. So stuff like that, files like that, you're adding them to your what? Your Git ignore file. You don't want to push them. So that is why for most node projects, you see stuff like .env, environmental files, where you can store files pertaining to your project and you want to keep away from the repo. Again, this might not make sense to you now, but I'm praying it makes sense to you later. So please find time to go back, read, research on your own, practice, make mistakes, and learn from your mistakes. So another common mistake is people forgetting to pull. So many at times, if you are working on a code base that you have collaborators there already, before you push, please you pull first because there's every possibility that somebody has already made a change already. In most cases like that, when you try to push, it will throw an error. So it's until when you pull, then you can push in some cases. Then the last one I have here is wrong files added. Like in the case of maybe you're adding your node modules, which you shouldn't add. You're adding your .env file, which you shouldn't add. So some few commands you can use in resolving this. We have git reset, you have git revert that can take it to an old commit, and you can stash. All these things I've mentioned so far, please practice. Okay, please practice. So over on the next slide, I have some links that you can go and practice. Like we have the trygithub.io. We have documentations on Git as well. Like I said, I just pointed out some few commands. There are so many other commands there that will help you. Okay, so please practice and learn more on Git. So summary and takeaway from this class. Git helps you manage your code history. It helps you keep your files safe. Have you already discussed that? Why GitHub and GitLab they work the same way? It helps collaboration online. Okay, and we have gone through some basic Git commands. And please, you guys need to learn to practice more. Please, you need to learn to practice more. And mind you, this class doesn't even pertain to whether you're a beginner or whatever. Whether you're a beginner or professional, you will still use Git. You must use Git, except you are not scared of losing your code base if something happens to your system. Okay, so I think that is that. So for next class, we'll be having system architecture and design principles. So I will take some few questions, then we round up. I'll just take maybe 3 or 4 questions. Then we can still talk more on the LMS, or maybe you can on the LMS, please, on the LMS. So 1 question or 2 questions, then we can call this a day. Is it okay to branch more often? Yes, you can branch as much as you can. You can have up to 20 or maybe 100. It's up to you. You can branch as much as you can. It's even good so that you can easily tie all feature to a particular repo. It's all up to you. So imagine you mistakenly permanently deleted a long project and no VS. You'll be fine. You just need to pray. God works miracles. So I think that is that. It was nice having you guys today. I just hope I've not ended up adding more to your problem. I know the journey has not been easy, but I'm going to advise you guys not to give up. You're already doing well so far. You just need to practice more. With that being said, enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you and God bless you. Yeah, bye.